Hello, Sariah Bastian here. Today I have one of my clients who has been with me for 4 years. Has it been, Heather?
Yes.
4 years. She started Beyond Breath with me 4 years ago. She's not currently obviously working with me, but she's continuing to use the tools that she learned in Beyond Breath all those years ago. And I wanted her to be able to share her story with you today. So welcome, Heather. Thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, thank you for
Um,
having me. It's
of,
always a pleasure
of course, it's good to see
around
your
Sariah.
face. So Heather, tell us, just to begin, like, what was the main problem you were experiencing in your life and in your marriage before you participated or enrolled in Beyond Breath?
Oh, I was experienced extreme betrayal trauma. It was the very first time that I'd ever experienced any betrayal with a intimate partner. And I'd never experienced this much pain in my entire life. And it led me to have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And so every time I closed my eyes or walked through a doorway or slept or blinked, even the images and the memories of just one moment would come back from when I was betrayed.
Mm.
And
Like the visual of what happened and the story being told over and over again.
right, just repeated over and over and over. And I would relive it in my body every time. My heart
Mhm.
would sink to my stomach and I would just see it, even though I wanted to turn it off so badly.
Yeah, totally feel that response, that continued uncomfortable sensation in your body. How long before you enrolled in Beyond Breath had you been experiencing that severe PTSD?
So it's kind of interesting. So in about 2016, I was just feeling horrible, like feeling like something is not right in this relationship.
Mhm.
I feel like my body was screaming at me, my body was trying to warn me about something, even though nothing had necessarily happened. And that was in January
Mhm.
2016. And then I went to Beyond Breath in 2018. So it was
Oh,
2 years.
2 years. 2 years. And what are some of the things that you had done to try to move beyond the constant story and the replay and the sensations of your body?
So back in 2016 January, I confronted them or just asked him in a nice way, like, "Hey, do you ever view pornography or do you ever do this or do you ever blank?" And he said, "Of course not. I love you. I would never do that to you." And I just said, I I accepted it, even
Mhm.
though my body was
Mhm.
not feeling like it was true. But why would you not trust the person that you trust so much in your life?
Mhm.
And so then I was like, something's wrong with me then, because he's obviously perfect. So I decided to go to therapy in January 2016. And then I call it D Day because it was Discovery Day. I found out about it um, in March 2016. So only 2 months after I had confronted him and started my own therapy. And I found out the truth.
Mhm.
And so in 2016, we went to our religious leader, and then he sent us to a therapist. So we did a religious leader, two different therapists at two different locations, and those did not work. Nothing helped him, nothing helped me.
Mhm.
The more we tried, the more angry I would get.
Mhm.
Then we were referred to another company with different therapists, and she referred me to Beyond Breath. And
Mhm.
so I had done numerous things, and I also did support groups through my church.
Mhm.
And that was
So
2 years.
2 years of bouncing back and forth, circling around your recovery, your healing, continuing to live this trauma day by day. And also like not knowing how to live not only in your body, but with him, or how to even like have a conversation, or how do you live with somebody, right? Like that's a huge thing when they've done that and you're experiencing all that you are. Yeah.
I sought out help also with family and friends. And
Mhm.
after learning more about it, like with Beyond Breath, I learned that that was secondary trauma because it
Mm.
wasn't helpful. Like I didn't want to hold his hand, but they thought I was a horrible wife because I
Yeah.
want to hold his hand, even though my body would scream.
Yes. Uh-huh. I know. And we talk about that actually specifically in Beyond Breath, when we talk about if I feel safe, I'll be close. And if I don't, I won't. And listening to yourself and trusting yourself over anybody, right? So what would you say that the highlight and maybe the biggest transformational piece for you from taking Beyond Breath? Like, what was the highlight? What was the biggest transformation in participating and enrolling in Beyond Breath?
Um, it's very difficult for me to pick just one thing because it was so life changing. But if I was going to pinpoint it, it would be to trust my intuition. I was able to trust myself for the first time in my entire life.
Mm-hmm. And what did that trusting yourself do for you? Like, how did that, like, what's been the results of you trusting yourself?
Um, it gave me confidence
Mm,
and it gave me the most important gift I could ever have in my life, and that would be freedom.
mm.
Um,
Freedom of what?
freedom to choose for myself.
Yeah.
Because little did I know in Beyond Breath, I was working on this trauma for 2 years prior it.
Mm-hmm.
But as I went through Beyond Breath, I realized that it was helping me heal from previous trauma before that,
Mm-hmm.
like the interactions that I had in my community or family.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to listen to my body and honor my body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is the best way you could live life, right?
Right. It,
Um, yeah. And that is living, right? That is living life is as a whole integrated being. Yeah, I love that. And Heather, I work with women who want to save their marriage, and I know you really wanted to save your marriage. Like you fought hard to save your marriage, and unfortunately, your marriage didn't work out. Would you say that Beyond Breath um, helped you find the clarity to move forward um, in in understanding the truth of your reality, that um, you were doing the work and he was choosing to not to, and so you were able to find that power to move forward? Would you say that Beyond Breath helped in that decision?
I would say that absolutely because I was able to see truth for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because um, in these relationships, it's very common to be gaslit, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically just making somebody else feel like they're the crazy one, even though you really are. And I was constantly being gaslit. Like, for example, of course, Heather, I would never do that to you. So
Mm-hmm.
I was not being, they weren't honoring my self by gaslighting me, and then I started gaslighting myself
Mhm.
too.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the reason for that is I was able to see truth for the first time because I was able to see gaslighting and
Mhm.
manipulation. And if we can't have truth and honor in our relationships, how will that be saving our marriage?
Yeah.
Saving
Right.
our marriage is being honest with one another and being true and having light.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be perfect all the time, but both people are wanting to seek that truth and
Totally.
being able to work on it. And it was very hard for me when I kept doing the work. Obviously, I didn't do the work perfectly, but I was
Mhm.
practicing the work.
Mhm. As you will for the rest of your life,
Right.
right?
I
Right.
Yeah, I will never be able to reach the destination that I want to be because I'm always going to be on the journey.
Right.
But
Right.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. And would you say that Beyond Breath put you on that journey?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I couldn't I wouldn't be where I was at without Beyond Breath, and I mean that 100% because I was able to see the truth
Mhm.
and have the courage and strength
Mhm.
to be done when enough is enough.
Yeah.
Because I learned we can love people from far away because it's not even just about marriage, it's about every relationship in our
Mhm.
lives.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
the concepts that I learned in Beyond Breath helps me with all my relationships, my
Mhm.
neighbors, my friends, my classmates, since I went back to school for my
Mhm.
second degree, like
Mhm.
every single person, my children, it makes me, and it helped me better in my religion too.
Yeah. I love that.
It's
I love
it's
that
a
so
lifestyle. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily it's not a fix it for your marriage. It's something for you, your
Right.
personal you.
And
And
that's what I say, healing, like healing trauma is learning how to live again, almost, right? And like you experienced for 2 whole years, this repetitive cycle of trauma moving through your body. And every time you visualize it, it's retriggering things in your body. And every cell that reproduces is reproducing a cell with trauma on it, right? And so it really is learning how to live with the uncomfortable sensations of your body and know what to do, how to act, how to behave, how to have a conversation with somebody as you hold yourself and can see yourself clearly. And then that gives you the opportunity to make a decision to move forward in your marriage if he's deciding to do the same work, or to hold yourself enough to be able to move away, but know that you have you. And that's it, right? So what would you say to someone who is on the fence about joining us?
do it. Do it, girl. And the reason why I say that is because I was already fed up. I felt like I was married to a brick wall. And like
Mm.
I wanted to knock on it and say, hello, are you in there? Um,
Yeah.
but but because nothing was happening, we were hopping around like what we discussed before.
Mhm.
But when the when a newer therapist mentioned me to go to Beyond Breath, I'm like, I guess I'll go because I
Mhm.
don't want to not do the work, even though I think it's a bunch of bogus. And I was not interested in doing yoga. Like I know people,
I
and
remember.
yeah, my mom has always been trying to get me to do yoga and
Uh-huh.
all that stuff. And I'm like, no, thank you. I am not interested at all. And within a week of even coming in with that attitude,
Mhm.
I could see so many changes in my life. I could
Mhm.
sleep for the
Mhm.
first time by just simple breath exercises. I could
Yes.
sleep. I could close my eyes without a nightmare of
Mhm.
images.
Mhm.
I could speak without getting defensive. I could hold my ground.
Yeah.
I could spot emotional abuse.
Mhm.
And I'm not even necessarily speaking about the husband at the time. I'm speaking about like any relationships.
Yeah.
And yes, do it. It will change your life. And I really think that even if you go in with a negative attitude, it will have an intense impact on your entire life,
Yeah.
whether you want it or not, whether you
Uh-huh.
want to or not.
Yeah, that's fair warning, right? When you wake up to yourself, you can't fall back to sleep. And after you find this healing, it really is life-changing. So, be prepared for that. And there are some women who are scared of that change because they're afraid of what's going to happen in their marriage if they make this big step. And it is scary. And sometimes, the reality is not what we want it to be. That's my experience and that's your experience. And at the same time, I have so many clients whose husbands are doing the work, and by stepping into beyond breath, those women are able to move towards their husband and not keep repeating the cycle of trauma, or keep them both in that place of this turmoil within their relationship. So I love it. I know you love it. That's why I had you here, and I really appreciate you sharing your story and your time with us today, Heather. I love you, and I love all of you today. If this testimonial like ring true to you, if you experience similar things to Heather, or what I post about and say all the time, like explore it a little bit more, because you're going to continue to circle around healing until you are able to do this final step. Maybe the final step, or maybe the first step of healing is coming back into your body and finding that control, the trust, and the clarity to be able to move forward in your life that isn't offered in other areas. So thank you. I love you, and we'll see you soon.
Love you, Sariah.